Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
Great.
Good. So now your microphones are on, and they're supposed to be on. So while the worship team was rehearsing this morning, Carol and Terry had their microphones on, and so they were distracted by all of their conversations for a while. But now we're in the real deal here.
Microphone.
So Terry, as many of you know, is our Director of Global Outreach, and so she actually helps to oversee kind of all of the projects and partnerships that we have as a church with some local people and agencies, some of which are right here in Sanford, but in Maine and in the United States, and then also globally that we partner with some wonderful people and some wonderful organizations around the world. So she helps us to kind of maintain those relationships, organize trips from time to time to various places. And she's been doing that for many years now. And so she's a great person to kind of talk about what is, this thing that we are now considering doing as a church. Carol, I don't know what to say about Carol, except she's a pretty nice lady. So Carol and her husband Stan, they actually do quite a bit. In fact, they were camping with us this past week, and they left early so they could paint a preschool classroom, which I caught them doing on Saturday. And so sometimes they're using their rugged physical talents to bless the church, but many other times they are sitting with people in small groups, discipling. But Carol also has a tremendous heart for the lost, for the vulnerable. And so she has been I don't know what you call it, a contributor and a partner with World Vision, which is the organization you'll be hearing about today, for many years. And so she's also going to share some of her experiences with us. Terry, I believe we're going to start with you, though. We have, you get to look at their faces, but you're also going to be blessed with some pictures. We have a few videos that we're going to share as well in an effort to just kind of paint the picture of what we are embarking on. But Terry, let's start with you, and I'd like for you to share a little bit about just kind of how this, first of all, how your heart has transitioned over the years, from, I guess as you would describe it, being a person that maybe didn't think a whole lot about people in faraway lands, the poor in particular, people that were in very under-resourced environments, to where that now takes a lion's share of your heart and your passion. Can you talk to us a little bit about kind of how that has happened over the course of your life?
Sure. Well, a lot of experiences over the past years have led me to lean toward the poor in our world. And at some point, I found myself asking, if I'm a follower of Jesus, what is my responsibility to that? And so reading the Bible was a big part of discovery for me. I saw over and over and over how God loves the poor and how he gave his life up for all of us, but he loves everyone. And so I between reading my Bible and maybe reading a lot of missionary autobiographies and having my own missionary experiences in other parts of the world, God just used all of that to shift my heart from thinking just about me in Sanford, Maine, to the United States and beyond. And so all of those experiences helped to shape my heart for the world around me. So traveling to Ethiopia was huge for me. I had an opportunity to sponsor a little girl. Her name is Tigist. And I had a little bit of skepticism because I didn't know a lot about World Vision at the time. But I had the opportunity to step in, and I had the opportunity to sponsor her through a program here that we had here at church. And then I had the opportunity to travel across the world and down a long, dusty road to her family's little grass hut. And I can't really describe what happened to me when I saw that little girl come out of her hut, but immediately she came alive. And it was an experience that I'll never forget. But it answered for me 3 questions that World Vision seeks to answer for everyone. And that is the child real? Is the money going where they say it's going? And is it making a difference? And I can answer all of those questions with a resounding yes now. The child is real, and that it was that feeling that when I saw her, I thought, oh my gosh, it really is her. She was the little girl in the picture. So I was able to visit her for the next 4 years as I traveled to Ethiopia, and I was able to build a relationship with her and her family. And as those years went by, her community grew in stability and was able to further, get better education and sanitation and water and all of the things necessary for a family to survive and thrive. So the relationships grew, and the memories that I have will last for a lifetime. Tega's family now and her community are living a sustainable life with the help of God and World Vision. But that's the goal. So to give a hand up, not a handout. Sustainability is the goal for World Vision. And I had the privilege of meeting this little girl and building that relationship. And not only did I get to realize that they have hopes and dreams like we do, but I got to see how World Vision was coming alongside this family and this community. But they have since moved out of this community. World Vision has moved out, and they've moved on to another community because this community graduated, and that's the goal. And it was a bittersweet moment for me because when World Vision moves out, the connection stops. But I love them. They love me. I know they have a picture of us all hanging on their little grass hut wall. And I can't wait to see them one day. But I know I will.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
And Carol, what about you? So, obviously there's as you're just kind of going through life, you have, maybe your ambitions for what you're going to do with your life, a family to raise, right? Like you've kind of been through all that. How did you go from being, very particularly and narrowly focused on, your family, your life, to this like broader vision of, wow, there's a larger calling for my life and what God wants to do through me, through Stan. I know you're speaking for both of you guys this morning, so how did that kind of take shape for you?
Family and our little circle of friends. And when our daughters, we have 2 daughters, they're in their early 40s now, but when they were in junior high, it seemed to me that there was way too much emphasis on clothing and superficial things. And I wanted to guide our daughters. I wanted to inspire their heart to be involved in something that was meaningful. And so it just so happened that following summer, we attended a Christian concert in the mountains, and there was a little tent, and under the tent was a table, and there were all these little picture folders with these beautiful faces of children from all over the world that were in dire poverty. Extreme poverty is the definition. And so we talked about it, and we were like, yes, we're going to sponsor a couple children, and our daughters children in this world that don't have dresser drawer full of clothes, a refrigerator with a variety of foods, a warm house, a family car. So we started sponsoring these children, and that was 25 years ago. But little did we know what God was going to do in our hearts through this. What we learned as a family through sponsoring these kids blew us away. We were shocked to discover I'd never been anywhere other like Maine, and we would camp in Florida every now and then growing up. So I hadn't seen or heard anything. But we were shocked to discover that millions of women and children walk 2 miles or more 2, 3, 4 times a day to get their drinking water, their cooking water, and the water that they bathe in. And they go to a riverbed, and this riverbed is shared with animals doing their business and full of bugs and bacteria and cause life-threatening illnesses. These precious women and children would scoop that water up into a pail, fill it up. Sometimes it weighs 40 pounds. They would lift that pail onto their heads, turn around, and walk that 2 miles back to their little mud homes with no electricity, no refrigerator, no TV, and no toilet. And of course, no toys. You all, prior to sponsoring these kids, when they entered our hearts and lives through their letters, their photos, their little drawings, report cards, and now even videos, all I knew and experienced was my safe, comfortable, and comparatively abundant little world. I don't believe I ever spent 5 minutes thinking or worrying about a little child who was hungry, sick, or possibly dying. But God, God's heart, He loves these kids. He used these little children to literally break our hearts for what breaks His heart. And we were able to feel a speck of what He feels because He sees them all. He sees the hungry. He sees the thirsty. He knows the cries of their heart. So in the process, our hearts grew, our world grew, our knowledge of who God is grew, and how He works grew. I would love to share a quote by Saint Teresa of Avila. Christ has no body on earth but yours, no feet but yours. Yours are the eyes through which Christ's compassion for the world is to look out of. Yours are the feet with which He is to go about doing good. And yours are the hands with which He is to bless with, as expressed in this video.
Come, you are blessed by my Father. Take your inheritance, the kingdom prepared for you since the creation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you invited me in. I needed clothes, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you looked after me. I was in prison, and you came to visit me. Then the righteous will answer him, Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you something to drink? When did we see you a stranger and invited you in? Or needing clothes and clothe you? When did we see you sick or in prison and go to visit you? The king will reply, truly I tell you, whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me.
The Matthew 25 challenge was a transformational moment for my family and I. There was one particular day when the challenge was to sleep on the floor. And I walked by my daughter's room, and she was already there on her sleeping bag, reading her Bible.
I think they could cut that.
The Matthew 25 challenge was an incredibly
All right, you
spiritual
cut the video
experience
there.
for me personally.
Thank you. So Carol, you had you'd mentioned this problem of water, right? Which our church has been exposed to, and we've had a little bit of history of kind of getting involved in like a water project and raising money for that. But it's still a problem. I mean, you think, which is crazy, right? I mean, given the abundance of technology that we are just surrounded with, and how much we take for granted the ability to just access water. My refrigerator, I can get water from my refrigerator, and it's kind of the filter in it doesn't last very long, and then the water just like comes out real slowly, and I get so angry. I'm holding my cup there, and it takes like 10 minutes to fill my little cup. Poor me, right? Yeah. But the reality is that there are parts of the world where just access to water, like this very, very basic kind of need, is not possible. And sometimes when that access is there, it's not even clean or sanitary, right? So can you just kind of talk a little bit about that? Just that specific problem, and because that's obviously a big part of what a project like what we're talking about is going to go in and try to remedy.
Yes. There's a phrase in Africa, and they say it often, water is life. Without water, there is no life. Right now, there are 785 million people in the world without access to clean, safe drinking water. That is 1 in every 11 people, twice the population of the United States. And there are, this is the absolute heartbreaking thing, there are 13,400 children under the age of 5 that die every day from easily preventable diseases related to their poverty. 13,400 will die today. 13,400 will die tomorrow, and so on. The majority of these kids will die from pneumonia, diarrhea, birth complications, and malaria. Good nutrition, with the help of irrigation, right, could have kept half of these little ones from dying. And sanitation, toilets, and immunization could have gone a long way to save the rest. In the West, that's United States and Europe, 6 children out of 1,000 will die before their 5th birthday. Usually, they die from accidents. The leading cause is accidents. In sub-Saharan Africa, 74 children in 1,000 will die before their 5th birthday. That's 1 in every 14 children. It's so easy to live here, like Josh was saying, get your water from here, and, it's just so easy to live here and take for granted that we have 100% access to clean water. 123 million pounds of food get thrown away every day from supermarkets, just the supermarkets. We have rain year-round, not so in Africa, and we have some of the best schools in the world, and medical access that is second to none. I'd like to share a quote from Richard Stearns. He was president of World Vision for 20 years. He retired just a couple years ago. And he's been in like close to 100 countries. And he says, "You could take away my car and I could use public transportation. You could take away my computer, cell phone, internet, TV, radio, and I could still experience a full life. You could reduce the size of my home and income, and even take away my education, and I could survive and possibly even thrive. But if you take away my water and sanitation, you have taken away my health and that of my children. If you take away my health, you have taken away my strength and industry. If you take away my strength and industry to support my family, you have taken away my dignity. And if you have taken away my dignity, taken away my hope for the future, for my children, for a better life. This is the stark reality of 785 million people in the world who live without access to clean water."
Right. So, all right. So that's some of the problem, right? That we know exists. But we're about good news here at
Yes.
Curtis Lake Church, right?
Yes.
We love the gospel. We love good news. And so, Terry, we believe that there's a way forward, and that we can. I mean, we're not gonna solve the problem of that 785 million people are facing, but we can do our part, right? We can do a part, and we can do our part in becoming part of the solution. So, Terry, can you talk a little bit about what
Yeah.
that looks like?
Yeah, it can be overwhelming to think about those numbers and think, like you said, how can we make a difference? But if you've ever heard the starfish story, everyone makes a difference. So World Vision is the largest provider of clean water in the world. They're bringing clean water to a new person every 10 seconds in 3 schools every day. They primarily serve in remote villages where access to clean water, sanitation, healthcare, schools, all of that is poor or non-existent. They have helped to lift millions out of poverty and into self-sufficiency, but the primary reason that World Vision exists is to share the gospel. They integrate a biblical worldview into every aspect of their work. Their desire is to bring clean water, yes, but also living water. His name is Jesus. They work very hard to impart sustainable agriculture and good nutrition, but also the bread of life, Jesus. Their desire is to bring good health along with the healer, Jesus, and job opportunities along with the knowledge of the provider of all things is Jesus. They bring education so that they can succeed in this life and the eternal life, because Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. So staff and volunteers come alongside these children and families and communities for an average of 15 years. They will not leave that community until they have access to clean water, sustainable health, agriculture, educational opportunities, and basic health care. So when these 4 pieces of the puzzle are accomplished, the economy can develop. And that's a big deal because you can't have an economy without water, food, education, and healthcare. When World Vision leaves a community, they leave behind farmers' cooperatives, parent-teacher associations, savings groups, water committees, and disease prevention committees, and so much more. Now the community has leaders and committees that are equipped to address their own problems in the future. One of World Vision's major objectives, though, and my favorite, is to help people see that they have within themselves their God-given ability to address their own problems and They just haven't had the education or the training to do that. As soon as they become self-sufficient, World Vision moves out. That's the goal. They want them to be on their own, raising their families and living life. And then World Vision will move to another community and start over. This community right here, Curtis Lake Church, has the opportunity to partner with a community in Kenya. We can help them move from poverty to self-sufficiency, and together we can support their access to clean water and the other essential things that lead to abundant life that God desires for everyone. Individually, you can also welcome a child into your life through letters, photos, Christmas cards, prayer, financial help, and maybe even a visit. This community in Kenya is full of children who have not had the opportunity to experience the fullness of life that God desires for them due to the lack of the 4 pieces of the puzzle. With help, their parents will, for probably the first time in their lives, have hope not only for a month, not only for a year, but for generations. I understand that generational hope now on a larger scale. I know what it is to want the best for my children. And I know now, having grandchildren, I don't think that it was possible, but my heart and my hope for them to experience all that God desires for them has grown even more. Moms are moms everywhere. Dads, grandmothers, grandfathers, they're the same everywhere, all with hopes and dreams for their children and grandchildren for the future. The gospel is not just spoken, it's shown, and we have the chance to live out this gospel and teach our children to do the same.
Carol, you're going to talk a little bit about Malawi.
Yes, yeah. It's funny, I shared that I hadn't been like anywhere. But in the summer of 2024, World Vision gave a small group of us a trip to Malawi, Africa, to see what can happen when a severely impoverished community receives encouragement, techniques, and tools from the body of Christ. Out of 200 countries in the world, Malawi is 4th from the bottom. Their annual income is $508. That's $1.39 a day. And 85% of the people that live in Malawi are small crop farmers. They have a little garden out back. And they are 90% of these farmers and their families are dependent on rain only. Malawi's rainy season is 3 months. I was there for close to 10 days. I never saw a cloud. Well, not a rainy day, of course not. I never saw a cloud. It was unbelievable. If they miss a rainy season, animals and children start to die. In 2005, they had no rainy season. In 2012, they had no rainy season, and the same with 2015. That means no rain for over a year. Every day we would leave our motel that had electricity. We couldn't drink the water. We couldn't even brush our teeth with the water. We would have to take a pill if we brushed our teeth, if we goofed up and used the faucet. But we would drive 2.5 to 3 hours to these rural communities where World Vision works. And time again, we would pass by these little fields of yellow, brownish, stunted corn. And that's all we would see out our dusty windows. But then when we reached the community where World Vision was, and they had come alongside the men and women in this community, all that changed. I saw corn, green, lush corn, all 6 feet tall and more. There was squash, beans, bananas, every inch of their soil had life-sustaining crops. The difference between the community with the yellow, stunted, brownish corn and the communities with the abundance of fruits and vegetables was the simplest intervention. World Vision had provided a sump pump, and it was attached to a 3x5 solar panel on this little cart with 2 bicycle tires. The cart and sump pump would move from family to family, field to field, so they could irrigate their crops. 10 families would share the one sump pump. Prior to this, the people were completely dependent on rainfall, and they were only able to harvest 1 crop a year if the rains came. Now, with irrigated fields, they were able to harvest 3 crops a year, guaranteed. They were able to meet their families' needs. Then in time, they had an overabundance of produce, because now they have the 3 crops, right? Which they were able to sell, and they would buy chickens. And the chickens would go forth and multiply, and they would be able to sell their chickens. And then they would be able to buy goats, and the goats would go forth and multiply, and they would be able to sell their goats and have milk and make cheese. And every family would do pretty much the same thing. They would all start with selling their crops, right? They'd have an overabundance, sell their crops. But then some would invest in, buy like beehives, and they'd have honey, and some would make soap, some would make furniture and clothing. And in time, they had an economy. And all because the body of Christ came alongside with wisdom and love, a simple sump pump, a 3x5 panel of solar on bicycle wheels. We met family after family that now had enough money to send their children to school. Most often they need uniforms in order to go to school in Africa. They now had money to buy the uniform. They now had money to buy books, which were required in order to go to school. But the big thing was that you could feel the dignity and the pride that had just filled these people up. They were able to provide for their families. They could actually see a future for their children. We had been sponsoring a little boy from Malawi for several years by then, and his name was Chikazello, and I was able to meet him. I had brought him a little backpack and some little gifts in it to share. World Vision doesn't recommend bringing anything that's costly, just simple gifts to share. But his mom and dad, on the other hand, gave me a very costly gift. They brought me a bag of peanuts, not the little bags we get in Hannaford, right? They brought me this enormous bag of peanuts that they had raised in their now irrigated field. We actually had a picture, and we looked and we said, oh no, we can't share that, because I was a mess when they brought me this. It was just such a costly gift. Now these farmers, they don't have tractors. They have hoes. All of their gardens are done with hoes. And I can assure you that in all my life, with the exception of Jesus, I've never received a more costly gift than that beautiful bag of peanuts. Here's a beautiful video of how sponsorship impacted one little family.
Born and raised in Washington State, very involved in church. met my husband in youth group and together just started walking what we thought God was calling us to do. We had our son Jack. 4 years later, we adopted our son Max from Guatemala. That was an amazing journey to just watch God work in that process. Initially, we were probably guilted into our first sponsorship. Shown the video, someone spoke, our hearts were sad, and we said, oh, we probably should do this. Shortly after that, God worked on our hearts about what it means to be people who love God and love His people. It, for us, shifted from being a place of doing it out of guilt or obligation to being a thing that we do out of love and generosity because we're loved by a generous God. Sponsorship gives our family this touchstone of what it means to be people who are compassionate and loving and gracious and humble and people who are servants. And it gives us this opportunity, this vehicle to talk openly about that with our kids. In so many ways for us, sponsorship is the living, breathing work of the gospel. And it just happens in our house to be represented by 7 different faces. There's this part of me that is always thinking about what it must be like to be a mom in those places, whether it's South America or Africa or India, wherever it is. And yet, I think at the core, we all want the exact same thing for our kids. We look at the reality of what would have and could have been our son's life had adoption not happened. Had he continued to live in his community, gosh, I pray with everything that World Vision would have been there. And that another mom would have chosen to sponsor him that could have been my kid. And so we say yes, because we know another mom is waiting. She's praying for resources. She's praying for options, and she's praying for what she cannot give her kids. And we are humbled to be an answer to prayer. If I had to title my story, it would be From Guilted to Grateful. From that place of feeling like I had to so grateful for the opportunity to. My name is Megan. This is my story of faithfulness. Make a child part of your story. Sponsor a child today.
I love how she mentioned that, like, they responded a little bit through guilt. And that might be, that might be one of the things that kind of brings us in. That, of course, is not our goal, to try to, like, guilt people into getting involved here. But so just kind of as we finish up this part of the conversation, I just want to paint the picture for everybody a little bit. So Terry and I, we've over, I don't know, a pretty long period of time, I think, I've kind of talked about, doing something like a child sponsorship and just, imagining other things that we as a church can do in expanding our partnerships with agencies and people around the world, right? Because we are a church that believes in that we are sent out. The gospel compels us to move beyond the space of this room, the walls of this church, into all of the world. And whenever we talk about child sponsorship, my wife and I, we have some experience in that, not with World Vision, but with another agency, and it's a pretty disconnected, kind of thing. You just, we write a check, and that's about it. Anyway, so when Terry and I were talking about this a few months ago, again, I'd said, what I would like? I would like if we could not not encourage people to sponsor children that are going to be from all different parts of the world, like a lot of organizations do. It's like, is there any way we could figure out how to like specifically hone in on one community where all of the sponsorships are like right there living among one another, like this big group, you know? So we go in and we just, I mean, we're a little part of it, but we're congesting our efforts into one area. And it turns out that World Vision is doing exactly that. So if you don't know, like right now today, World Vision is completing the funding of another project. I don't know where it is. I don't even know if you guys know where it is, but they're completing the funding of a project, right? There's some church or churches in the world that are making their kind of sponsorship declarations, and that project is going to be fully funded through those ongoing financial gifts. And then next week, the funding of this project that we're talking about begins. That's why the deadline is 9 p.m. Eastern Time next week, next Sunday, because what we commit to as a church, like that's going to be our commitment going forward. And they are. Like all of the families that are going to be sponsored are going to be located within that particular community. I hope that before too long, we can literally announce that we are sponsoring a trip to Kenya and inviting people to go and visit this community that we have been collaborating with. And that's exactly what we're doing. We're collaborating. One of the takeaways I hope that you get is this is not a forever project. This is not a bunch of rich Americans are going into a place and being the saviors of this community. No, we're going in to help a little bit. We're going in to just to give that little bit of help to a community that is going to learn how to become self-sustaining. I love the idea that we're in there for a little while and then we're out.
Yep.
Right? And they're producing for themselves. And their dignity is raised because of how they are now responsible for caring for themselves and the future generations of their community. And so we're not going in to save. We're going in to help. We're going in to be a neighbor. We are given this opportunity to be like the Good Samaritan, who saw this poor, distressed person on the side of the road and took him up, put him on his own animal, bandaged his wounds, brought him to an inn, threw a couple shekels to the innkeeper and said, hey, take care of him. And if it costs any more than this, I'll take care of it when I get back. And, other than that, this man was, just brought back to life, presumably, and able to go on with sustaining himself. And so I love the architecture of the project, the opportunity that we have to be personally involved in it, the gravity I think that it has, given that we will have many people participating in it. As far as I'm not a big numbers guy, and I'm not like into like flash and showmanship, and but I was thinking, and I shared this with Terry and Carol. So every month, if you fill out a communication card, like if we have you in the system, we send out a calendar every month. How many of you get that? How many of you don't? Yeah, fill out your communication card, all right? And so we send out 220 of those every single month, about, like right now. I mean, it kind of grows every month, I think this last run. So we have, what that tells me is like we have 220 identifiable family units in our church, right? So some of those, one of those numbers represents a family of 7, one represents a family of 2, one represents an individual, right? But 220 family units. I think it would be incredible if our church were somehow able to sponsor 220 children between now and next week. I recognize that there are some people that they cannot do that. And there are some people in the room that could probably sponsor 10 kids. And that's okay too, right? Absolutely. That's allowed.
Absolutely.
And so that's what we are doing. As far as World Vision is concerned, I mean, you've already heard a little bit about the fact that they are, this very reputable kind of organization. Terry, I don't know if you want to say anything more about that, and maybe just kind of a final word about this relationship you had with Tigges and like kind of the before and after results of all of that.
Yeah. Well, like I said, that relationship grew through trips to Ethiopia, and there was a process. You have to get a background check, and you have to fill out this application. That was the hardest part. World Vision came alongside me. They literally walked me through the whole process. We drove to her community, and then we got in World Vision vehicles, and they drove us down these long, dusty roads, and I didn't know how far we'd have to go, but it was far. And we pulled up there, and they were so supportive through the whole thing. Even when I left, I turned around just to see her one more time as she was waving, and they said, "Terry, don't look back. Don't look back." But they were just so caring, even about me. Like, they were just so, they walked us through the whole process. They educated us on how World Vision does this work and what their goals are and how it works. And it was just a good process. Some of you who were on that trip would understand that you were there. But they were very, very good to work with, very easy, and just really cared about me as the sponsor too. It was a great experience.
Yeah. All right. So as far as the quote unquote cost of sponsoring a child is $39 a month, right? Can you explain to us, one of you explain to us like how that breaks down, right? Because there's always a concern for, is this just is a bulk of this money going to fat cat salaries, and expensive junkets and trips and things like that, or like how exactly is this money used?
Right. 86% of World Vision's funds go directly to the community. It's not that $39 goes to one child, because they have learned through their 75 years of doing this, 75 years. A pastor actually began it. This is really cool. He had gone into China and shared the gospel as a pastor. And this one little girl, she was young, she was like 6, she was rejected by her family. And so this woman, another believer, told the pastor, "Pastor, this child is going to be without a home, without a family. What are we going to do with her? They just rejected her because she's a Christian now." And he reached in his pocket, and he had $5. Of course, this was 75 years ago. And he said, "I will send more the next month." And that started the child sponsorship thing. And that little child was sheltered, given food, given love, given the gospel, right? So in the process of 75 years, World Vision has learned that unless the community is raised up, just sponsoring one little child is not going to do it. The community has to have, all those 4 pieces of the puzzle, or else the children will not have a future. So our collective $39, you build a relationship with one little child. But World Vision has figured out that for every one child that you sponsor with $39, 4 other children benefit also, which is really cool. And like we said, they start, we've got some little folders over there. I mean, y'all, when I had visited this Malawi, I needed to use the bathroom. And I went to the bathroom in a hole in the ground. And there was a little 3-foot wall around me and a little thatched roof over my head. We had to share a roll of toilet paper. You know, they will bring sanitation. They will bring toilets, latrines, I guess they call them. And they will teach the children, like, they have water stations where they wash their hands. When there's a flu season or diseases going around, they teach, even before they eat their meals. You know, it's so hard to imagine what happens around the world when, unlike America, their animals, if they have animals, they're right around them. Stan went to Kenya, actually, and they lived in a boma. Their animals lived in the boma with them. That means that all their business that they do is right inside this little home thing. And so disease is rampant, really, unless you wash your hands, right?
Rampant, but very correctable.
Exactly.
Like so easily correctable with a
correctable.
little bit of help.
So they
Yeah.
have hand washing stations everywhere. Just these,
So,
yeah.
in answer to the question, 86 cents out of every dollar.
86 cents out of every dollar.
Thank you, Carol. No, listen, I can't tell you how glad I am that you guys talk longer than I normally talk. And like next week's sermon is going to feel so short to you all. And so we do have to wrap up. I mean, you guys have a couple more videos here that you listed. I'm going to give you a second to think about which one of those maybe we close with. Yeah. Did you have something you wanted to say?
Well, do we want to explain the chosen piece of this?
Yeah, I was going to do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the last video, this video is Kenya. And so I don't know if you want to give them a picture of the community that we're going to be in, or?
The videos are very
to you.
short.
Okay, well, if you're going to give it, go ahead.
Yep.
No, we can show the video.
Oh, you want to show the video?
They do it better.
It's going to explain the chosen whole. Like,
The-
so
the
you
last
see
one will.
these T-shirts, right? Like that say "chosen" on them. And because like you've probably seen traditional child sponsorships, right? Where and they've even described, it's like, oh, I went in and I saw these pictures of kids, I picked one, and and so we've experienced that. This is kind of like that in reverse. And so we have over there a little photo booth set up for anybody that wants to. You don't have to use it, but you can use that before you leave, take a picture, and eventually use that to upload. Because what's going to happen is children are going to be brought in a room where they're going to see pictures of us. And they're going to choose you. They're going to choose me. So anyway, yeah.
Yes. Yeah, so the last video explains that. But if you want to show a little bit about the community where we're going to be in, Kenya,
Yep.
this video does that.
Okay, well, let's tell them up there, which,
That one would be
video number 30?
Just the
number 30.
All right, video number 30. Let
Thanks,
it roll.
Kelsey.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Tom, the area program manager for Kibauni area program. Together with my team, we are excited to have you as our sponsor. And we're going to do great things to the children, family, and community so that together we can transform the well-being of Kibauni community. Thank you.
One of the challenges we are addressing in this community has to do with the inadequate access, retention, and completion of learners in their education programs. This is caused by the fact that learners walk for long distances to the learning schools. Secondly, the learning environment, it is poor, it is dilapidated. And we also have the fact that the environment where the learners come from, we have a lot of child protection issues that prevent them from attending to school. One of the challenges we are addressing in this community has to do with the food and the nutrition insecurity among children. This is caused by the fact that communities are using traditional farming practices and the fact that there is also extreme weather conditions leading to lack of rainfall. One one of the challenges we are addressing in this community is to do with inadequate clean and potable water for children and households. This is caused by the fact that they draw their water from open water sources that are contaminated. And children and communities use their productive time and learning time to walk for long distances to draw water. And along the way, they are also exposed to child protection issues.
On behalf of the children, family, and Kibauni Area Program community, we say thank you for supporting our community. Bye.
Any last words?
Just thank you for the opportunity to share our hearts a little bit with you. And we just hope you'll join us in this venture. It's going to be a great experience. This community is at the very beginning stages. They don't have even clean water right now. So it would be really cool to be able to walk with them and watch the progress as we go.
Yeah, we're right there at the beginning.
We're right at the beginning.
Awesome. Well,
Yeah.
thank you very much. Give him a great
Yeah.
big hand.